What happens when teenage girls are paraded like prize cattle in front of powerful men old enough to be their grandfathers? The Testaments just gave us one of its darkest episodes yet, and we need to talk about it. If you thought Gilead couldn't get any more disturbing, episode 5 proves you wrong. Stick around, because the ending reveals a twist that changes everything for Agnes. Welcome back! We've officially hit the halfway point of the Testament's first season, and episode 5 just aired. This installment takes us deeper into the psychological manipulation and systemic abuse that Gilead inflicts on its young women. After last week's horrifying dentist scene with Becca's father, this episode shows us exactly how Gilead grooms girls from childhood to become obedient wives to commanders who view them as property. The ending left me speechless, and I have a lot to unpack. Let's break it down. And just a heads up, massive spoilers ahead. This entire episode is told from Agnes's perspective, and it's heavy. After being violated while sedated at the dentist's office by Becca's father, Agnes is carrying this invisible weight that nobody else can see. The brilliance of this storyline is how accurately it portrays the aftermath of assault. That feeling of being dirty without fully understanding why, the inability to speak up because you don't even know exactly what happened. Agnes doesn't tell anyone. Not Aunt Lydia, not Becca, nobody. And you can understand why. In a society where women are already blamed for men's actions, how could she possibly report something she can't even fully articulate? Plus, with the marriage ball approaching, where her entire future will be decided, speaking up could ruin everything. What's heartbreaking is watching this trauma poison her friendship with Becca. Agnes becomes cold and distant toward her, even though Becca is innocent. It's not Becca's fault her father is a predator, but Agnes can't separate the two. That frostiness between them lasts the entire episode, until the very end. And it's painful to watch a beautiful friendship crumble under the weight of Gilead's abuse. Now, let's talk about the ball itself, because this is where the episode gets truly disturbing. The Green Girls, these teenagers who've been raised their entire lives to be obedient wives, are brought to this lavish ballroom. They are on the ground floor, while the commanders stand on balconies above, literally looking down at them like they're shopping for livestock. And here's the twisted part. Gilead starts by introducing them to young men first, boys closer to their age. The girls start to relax, thinking maybe this won't be so bad. Then, the real suitors are revealed. The elderly commanders who will actually be their husbands. It's psychological manipulation at its finest. Give them a moment of false hope, then crush it completely. This scene perfectly illustrates that even when women in Gilead do everything right, they're not Marthas or handmaids, they've become model citizens. They still get nothing. The reward for perfect obedience? A lifetime prison sentence, married to a man decades older who views them as property. The show has always been about showing Gilead through younger eyes, but this episode takes it to another level. We see the complete absence of childhood, no identity formation, no adolescence, no choice. These girls are products being packaged and sold. There's this devastating moment where Agnes is put under a spotlight, literally, and asked how a wife should behave. The entire room is watching her. Commanders are evaluating her. And she completely breaks down. I think in that moment, the dentist chair flashes through her mind. The trauma resurfaces. The weight of her future, being someone's property forever, becomes unbearable. She freezes.
What brings her back? Commander Judd talking about his relationship with his wife Paula and how proud Paula was of Agnes. Because Agnes looks at Judd and Paula as the gold standard of Gilead marriages. They seem happy. They seem to genuinely care for each other. And this gives her a glimmer of hope. Then she learns that Guy, the young guardian she's been dancing with, the only person she feels any connection to, is being promoted to commander after his actions during the Mayday attacks. You can see the wheels turning in her head. Maybe she can maneuver her way into marrying him. Maybe she can have what Judd and Paula have. But here's what Agnes doesn't know. Guy is part of Mayday. Everything might be a lie. If they do end up together, Agnes will eventually have to face the possibility that his feelings were never real, that she was just part of his cover. And that betrayal might destroy her more than anything Gilead has done. There's this small but significant detail in this episode that perfectly encapsulates Gilead's hypocrisy. The aunts strictly forbid alcohol at the ball. They make this very clear to the girls. Then the commanders show up and start drinking anyway. Nobody stops them. Nobody says anything. The rules simply don't apply to them. It's a tiny moment, but it shows how deep the power imbalance runs. If commanders can break rules this openly when the girls are teenagers, imagine how that manifests in more sinister ways throughout their lives.
Daisy doesn't have much screen time this episode, but what we do see is important. First, there's that moment when her Canadian personality breaks through and she tells a commander to get off her. It's instinctive. It's who she really is. But this moment also gives us crucial intel. Commander Mackenzie has been meeting with the Japanese to broker a deal for artillery. This isn't for show. This is for war against Mayday. Mackenzie even tells Agnes that efforts are being made to root out the rebels. This means increased surveillance, more public executions, more fear tactics, and Daisy is right in the middle of it, while desperately wanting out. We also see Daisy comforting Becca after the ball, and this is where the show heavily implies what many viewers have suspected. Becca is in love with Agnes and isn't attracted to men at all. During the ball, Becca keeps looking at Agnes while dancing with commanders. She gets drunk, and then she breaks down to Daisy, saying Agnes doesn't love her the way she loves Agnes. It's heartbreaking, because in Gilead, being anything other than heterosexual is considered an unforgivable sin. Becca can never be who she truly is. She'll be forced into a marriage with a man, and will have to hide her authentic self forever. Here's where things get interesting for the power dynamics among the aunts. Commander Judd is getting tired of Aunt Lydia. She's too independent, too powerful, too unwilling to be controlled. That said, the ball sequence was fascinating. It had this weird Bridgerton energy, which makes sense because both shows deal with arranged marriages and matchmaking, but obviously much darker. I also found it funny how even in Gilead, teenagers find ways to be rebellious, like sneaking drinks. Some things are universal. The performance by the actress playing Agnes was phenomenal. You could feel every ounce of pain and trauma she was carrying while trying to maintain appearances. It was genuinely hard to watch. I'm glad G is becoming more integrated into the story because it's setting up what I think will be a massive emotional twist when Agnes discovers the truth about him. I did miss having more Daisy this episode. The show has positioned itself as having two leads, so when one is barely present, it feels off balance. And that moment with Holder ringing the bell while Shunammite is left alone? Terrifying. Being left in purple in Gilead sounds like one of the loneliest experiences imaginable. I don't even want to think about what happens to women who can't have children in this world. Look, I'm not going to compare this show to The Handmaid's Tale yet. That show had multiple seasons to develop. This has had 5 episodes. I want to wait until at least the end of season 1 before making those comparisons. What I will say is that halfway through this first season, the world has been established well. The characters are compelling, and I'm genuinely invested in seeing how this all unfolds.
I want to know if there are more undercover Mayday agents hiding in plain sight. I want to see how the conflict between the aunts develops. And most importantly, I want to see if there's any possible escape or justice for these girls. So there you have it, my complete breakdown of The Testaments Episode 5. This show continues to expose the darkest corners of Gilead. And even when an episode feels slower, it's building towards something bigger. What did you think of this episode? Do you think Agnes will end up with G? Will Becca's secret be discovered? And is Aunt Vidalla walking into a trap? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more episode analyses. I'll be covering episode 6 next week, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.